behind. So like up here, they were just, it was like a little market going on where they were selling goods, so some of those dishes, they would just bring a whole bunch and they would just like barter and sell with each other these items. In this, you can see some of the visa pictures. See that?
Yeah.
That's their visa paperwork right there. It's all over. If you look inside there, you can start to see like diapers, all kinds of stuff, just hygienic products, their clothes. You see over here, it's like this junk. But look at all the papers that they've torn apart. Like really focusing on that. You know, you can see all their visas and their passports, all their documents just scattered in there.
Cost it's going to be to the city.
So like all this, they would bring chicken and, you know, chicken plates, fajita plates from Acuña, and so there was a whole economy that just kind of sprung up with all that.
Wow.
And then over here is where you saw, this is the bridge that they were just walking across easily and freely. They were just walking across here to Nova. This bridge, this dam, we grew up here and it was it's a dangerous dam because right now the water's actually a little bit shallow. I mean, the Rio Grande is a generally shallow river, but it's really shallow right now. But you would get caught and you would just twirl. You know, you would get submerged in there and just, you know, it's bad.
Yeah,
Wow.
people would die.
And all this stuff is stuff that they brought. I mean, look at all the boxes that they bring in, the fruit from in there, like, you know, everything. So, how's it going?
Wow. It's insane.
How are you guys doing? Get this stuff, man. What you see there is the remnants of all their clothes. So they would, like, you know, you have to remember that a lot of them were prepared to come.
Yeah.
So like they had their suitcase, they'd walk with their suitcases, they'd strip, take a quick little rinse, and they'd get into their nice, I mean, some of them had some nice outfits, and they would have their rollerboard ready as if we're gonna get checked into an airport. And then they get to the encampment, they realize that they're gonna be there for days, and you could just tell that they were like a little bit in awe and shock.
Yeah. Wow. Insane. And why do you think the large amount of them are from Haiti? Even though, I mean, they're not directly coming from
organized.
Haiti.
I mean, who knows how many? So you have to understand that, like, when 2019 happened, you had Congolese that were already here, and they came across. You know, Congolese was a large population that came through the Del Rio area. There was other nationals that were. There was all kinds of representation: Venezuelans, Cubans. The thing is that a lot of individuals are already living outside of their country. And they're living in Latin American communities and countries, and so they, you know, for whatever reason, Haitians were chosen to like be part of this narrative down there. I'm not sure if it's the organized criminal activity or what, but they obviously organized it. You can see the documents, so they know that there had to have been some kind of network in their home country to come up here, you know.
Yeah. Wow. And what impact is this having on your city and the people that live here?
Well, I mean, our bridge is still closed. It's been several days now, and it's an inconvenient now because now we have to drive. You know, they have to drive like 2 hours round trip, so that's 4-hour day just to get to work. When it took maybe 20 minutes at best, an hour at most, because of the tolls and stuff. Families. You know, some of them had medical appointments down there because some of the medical practitioners are on that side. Some of my, people have to stay at friends' houses here so that they can actually still get to work. It's just a hardship. You know, this bridge is our lifeline for economic, economy here.
I'm here in Del Rio, Texas, where days later there are still thousands of migrants left under the international bridge here in Del Rio. You can see the little kids, families. Notice also how they've built little shacks with sticks and clothes as walls. It is really interesting to see how they've made almost a makeshift tent city, and it continues they're being bussed out, so the number is getting smaller and smaller. We heard that at its peak it was around between 15 and 16,000 people. Now it is around 6,000 as they're being bussed out and flown out of Del Rio. But as you can see, it is still a huge issue, and I heard from the mayor here who said it'll take months to recover, as there is such large amounts of trash just laying around this area. I'm Phoenix, for Phoenix Rising in America, and this is our country.
Here's the staging area. Before, when we were getting them just coming in, they set up these posts right here, and they would just line up. They would just line up right here. They would kind of like divide them up there. They would line up, and single males, single women, families, pregnant women over here, and they would get their tickets based upon that data.
Wow.
Over here, you have a setup for the personnel here so that they can eat. You have it does get hot, so you have an area where we can cool down because it does get hot. Luckily today, it's going to be 95 degrees with an actual relief. It's actually going to be a lot cooler for these individuals. But what you're seeing behind me here, before there's a fence. I'm not sure if you can actually see the fence. What happened is that they were actually going all the way out to the fence, and there's a big old cleared field, and they were setting up more tents further in. I believe Border Patrol was trying to work on making sure that the tree line was properly assessed to get everybody out and here, so that way they get a number of who's in there. If you can't see what you don't know, or you don't know what you can't see, right? And so as you can see, it looks like some of the shelter that they've created is starting to fall apart. But yeah, it's just been a journey.
Sure, and it's definitely more than just bread and water.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of. I mean, look. Let's take a look at. Let's go over here to this side of the kitchen. As you can see, so each ticket kind of groups them up as kind of the category, and that just helps Border Patrol maintain, the different asylum. I don't know what they decide on, but the criterion that's needed to establish whatever asylum or protection that they have, that's how that's determined, and what happens after that is on Border Patrol, Customs, and DHS. But let's take a look over here. So here, like I said, we have this world kitchen. It looks like these are drinks for them. You have, again, hygienic products there on that side for the babies and infants, and like you can kind of see what this is, hot food right here that's being given. And as you can see, the care that the volunteers and the workers, they're all trying their best to accommodate, and make sure that everybody's comfortable.
Wow.
And they have like a system in place where they see how the agent kind of lets them out and lets them in at a certain rate, so that way they're not overflown, overcome. But it's been pretty systematic as far as like making sure that they're cared for. And so further on down, you see the staging area. It looks like there's more porta potties coming in. Here's a lot. So you see where the deputy sheriff is at. That's where like the buses go straight to the front, and then they'll walk them up, and that's where they'll unload the individuals to continue on their journey. But you can see that there's a lot of law enforcement agencies. We have DPS. We have the federal presence, we have medical presence, we have, the kitchen presence. We have all kinds of people and support here, local and state as well.
Would you say the situation is becoming under control now?
I'd say it's getting there. I'm not sure what the Border Patrol magic number is for reopening the port of entry, but that's the ultimate goal now. Securing this area so that we can reopen and reassess the conditions up there to allow their free movement of traffic and commercial traffic back and forth. That is definitely one of their primary goals, in addition to the humanitarian effort down here.
Now, why did you choose that it was best to shut down this bridge?
For safety. A few days ago, there was thousands of people just lined up on the fence. They were kind of like they were getting frustrated, with the lack of movement. So a lot of variables could have happened. The heat may have caused some things, some pressure, some agitation, and so you can see up there, this fence is built to protect people from coming out, but not from coming in. And so further down where the bridge touches base, it's a really thin fence, and then you can easily topple it over. And then you're going to have, individuals walking through a port of entry, and they don't know the terrain, they don't know the roads, they don't know where they're going, and go into the neighborhoods, go into businesses, and for whatever reason, imagine the shock of the community and the nation if that would have happened. So, and we also were trying to prevent mass casualty. At least here, they're kind of protected, a lot of them, from anybody that might do harm over the bridge. There's a system in place to protect the individuals.
Now, was there any worry about the migrants trying to rise up at all, especially after they figured out they were going to be deported?
A few moments did happen where it got really tense, a couple of moments, and that's why we were just trying to help last Friday. We got 2 city buses and 2 school buses online just to keep the flow of traffic moving every hour on the hour. Even if it was 15 people, 30 people, just moving individuals was very helpful to keep everybody calm, and that there is movement happening, and that's why we did that. And then that lasted about 24 hours on our end. Once the federal government brought in their buses, they went and it got even higher, and it was a 24-hour system of movement. And they're doing lateral movement to other facilities along the border, and they're doing aerial movement as well to other lateral sites.
What is the expected time to have all these migrants, not under the bridge?
It's a good question. I don't know. Hopefully that they'll clear out this site within the next week. I'm hearing by the end of the week is a good date, but we just don't know. I mean, another set of variables could change that could impact that, but hopefully sooner than later.
Now, is there anybody going in between here and Mexico? We had kind of heard about that.
They've moved. The people are trying to come across through other parts where they're less accessible, and that endangers them, but it also endangers the agents, and they're just trying to make sure that we have a response there in case anything should happen. So we have seen some deployment of federal officials to those sites.
Thank you. Such large amounts of trash, the amount of migrants, and you can see the DPS helicopters out here who are still searching, trying to get a hold on the situation, keeping an eye out for extra migrants, as you can see them right here. And it really just goes to show what's happening, the response from the state. Governor Abbott sent a large amount of troopers. We heard that there are probably around 700 troopers in the area still, and we could see them lined up along the river. You could see such large amounts of trash here from the migrants. Identification and documents.
Yeah, there's student ID right there. There's all kinds of stuff. There's a Brazilian passport. There's a Chilean passport.
This was given out on the 16th in Mexico, August 16th.
Wow.
Right here. I'll back up so you
So would you have liked to seen a quicker response? It's not like it just suddenly happened. There was predicted that something of this scale might happen. So do you think there should have been a quicker response?
I think that leadership in the Beltway, as it's now called, DC, needs to understand that there is a line of communication that local leadership, mayors and judges should have at that department, just because we see things in real time in addition to their agents. I know that they have a lot of intelligence out there, but for whatever reason it's not transmitted or it's not received as urgent as it needs to be. And I think that we're elected officials, we can be that message for our communities that there's something quickly happening and needs a quicker response.
Right. And how do you think this should have been handled in retrospect?
I think it's still too early to decide and make a judgment call, on how it can be handled. I will tell you that once the lines of communication were opened up, it's been a very, very amazing feat that we've accomplished. You have agencies working with other agencies, state, local, federal, all working in tandem to really provide the humanitarian care that we see under the bridge and to provide the movement of individuals so that they can be at least in a more secure area and keeping the city of Del Rio safe and secure. Mm-hmm.
Now, immigration for years has been such a political issue. But in the beginning of this, a couple days ago, you, a Democrat, you were criticizing the Biden administration and complimenting the Republican governor. So it seems that when you have what really is a crisis like this, politics isn't involved. It's about helping the community, and that seems
Right.
bipartisanship is important.
Mayors and judges, we are at the lowest level of government, municipal government, right? And so we work alongside our Democratic, Republican counterparts every day. We don't have this national divide. We have to work with each other, and we welcome each other into each other's homes. I have relatives that are Republican, I have relatives that are Democrat, and the thing is that in our communities we're very welcoming, we're very engaged in our safety and our cultural history, and I think that's very important to transmit, that this is not a political issue. This is an American issue, and we need to resolve it and come together and find that middle ground to support local leadership, mayors and judges, on how these congressional decisions affect communities in adverse ways.
And how would you like to see something like this prevented from happening again?
We need leadership at the top. We need the federal government, all those congressional leaders in the House and Senate, to really come together and communicate about resolving this. This is not a Republican, not a Democrat, not a black, not a white. This is an American issue.
Have you received any word from the Mexican government? Are they helping?
I haven't. It's been a while since I've actually gotten a hold of my counterparts in Mexico. I've been so busy here. I do know that I sent my delegation down to Eagle Pass yesterday to speak on behalf of the city to the governor's office, and that was a very successful meeting. We are in communication, and also with the consulate here in Del Rio, to see what kind of assets and resources they can provide, and they've been very supportive.
Now, with the number of migrants seems to be shrinking here, they're getting bussed out. So how is it going with getting the migrants out of the camp and to where they need to go, whether it's being deported or staying in America?
There's a large movement, and I think that's just goes to show how everybody's working in unison to accomplish the mission for the Border Patrol. And what you do see now is that you see, there's the population is now. You're almost getting to a sense where there's almost a sense of relief, because there's not 10,000, 14,000 people. Now we have numbers around the 6,000 mark, which is still a significant amount. But I feel like the people under those conditions are seeing okay, there's movement, and whether or not they get sent back to home country or stay with whatever asylum programs are at the DHS level, that's to be determined on that end. But at least they know that there's an opportunity for them.
At its peak, how many migrants were there?
I want to say it was right over 15,000. We were close to 16. I want to say it was 15,005.